Welcome to our second edition of Haunted Holidays. Today we'll be looking at 3 recent collections of horror stories. First up is Ghosts from the Library. The From the Library series collects classic and neglected crime stories from a variety of authors of the 19th and early 20th centuries, which it describes as the golden age of crime fiction. This volume stands out as focusing on horror stories written by writers primarily known for their crime fiction. To put it kindly, most of these stories aren't very good. It's probably for the best that most of these writers only occasionally dabbled in the genre. The standout from this collection is Personal Call by Agatha Christie, a script of a radio drama about a series of ghostly telephone calls. Otherwise, this book is very skippable. Next up is another group of stories from the same era. The Living Stone, edited by Henry Bartholomew, presents a collection of weird fiction centering on sculpture as a theme. You would think this is a very niche subject to devote an entire anthology to, but the collection here, with stories by well-known authors such as H.P. Lovecraft, Arthur Machen, and Edith Wharton, as well as lesser-known, at least to me, writers such as Oliver Onions and James Causey, offers up a surprising variety of stories whose only similarity is they feature stonework of some kind. In some, beautiful statuary inspires obsessive devotion. Others are imbued with secret curses. In another, an ancient monolith literally and somewhat comically stumbles after its victims, crushing them. My favorite story here is The Mask by Robert Chambers, taken from his most famous work, The King in Yellow, best known for the inspiration it gave to the HBO series True Detective. The Mask tells the story of a sculptor's secret chemical process by which he can instantly transform any living tissue into stone, and the predictable tragedies which ensue for those around him. His wife accidentally falls into the solution, appending the lives of everyone who loved her. Other highlights are The Man of Stone by Hazel Heald and H.P. Lovecraft, about a jealous husband/wizard's scheme to destroy his wife and a visiting sculptor, and Bagnall Terrace by Jeff Benson, which transports a haunted Egyptian artifact to a sleepy English suburb, ending with a very well-done haunting scene. Our final book is the most recent collection of Stephen King's shorter fiction. You like it darker. I've always preferred King's short stories and novellas more than his novels. November 22nd, 1963 is a good example of why. Without the constraint of limited pages, that book began strongly but lost steam midway through, tediously treading water for a couple hundred pages before things got good again. For a more direct comparison, Jerusalem's Lot, a kind of prequel to Salem's Lot, is the much superior work. Likewise, here the story Rattlesnakes, a sequel to Cujo, for me works much better than the original book. Rattlesnakes takes an interesting premise. What if ghosts age like people do? And builds an effectively creepy story about arrested development around it. Given that virtually everything King writes becomes a movie or streaming series, I look forward to seeing the grotesque antagonists of Rattlesnakes on screen. Adult bodies with the heads of toddlers, hideously deformed by the venom of the snakes, which killed them decades earlier. Another highlight of this collection is called The Answer Man, which King in the afterword reveals is the completion of a fragment of a story he began several decades ago. The Answer Man follows the life of a young man just starting out in the world, who encounters a mysterious Answer Man, who promises to correctly answer any specific question of fact about the future he can think to ask in a limited time. The Answer Man reappears throughout the protagonist's life during times of extreme doubt about his life choices. This story asks questions about fate, destiny, and exactly how useful or reassuring would a knowledge of the future be if it comes without the ability to change it. Sometimes quite a lot, but more often not at all. Like any collection, the quality of the stories here varies. Dreamers, about an assistant to a mad scientist whose attempts to unlock the secrets of the universe through dream hypnosis goes horribly wrong, is a lot of fun. Danny Coughlin's Bad Dream is about a man whose premonition leads him to discover a dead body and become the police's prime suspect in the murder is much less effective. It's by far the longest story in this collection and could use some trimming. The same basic conversations and interrogations recur over and over again as the police and his neighbors doubt Danny's sudden psychic ability, until the plot basically resolves itself off-page. As a whole, though, this is an excellent collection of horror and science fiction stories. Now, An Old Man. Many of King's narrators here are old men themselves, looking back at their lives and wondering whether they've made good use of their time on this world. King himself, at least I think, has.